Hello, 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 and good morning to you all. I hope you are well. I'm just going to put on my headphones. Actually, I forgot to do that. And there we go. There we go. That's better. I've got a little microphone attached here, and because I'm such a fidget, if I don't have it attached to me, my voice waves in and out. So you may or may not be able to hear me. But once I'm plugged in, it's easier to hear what I'm about to say. So I hope you're having a good morning wherever you are. I hope you've had a good week. I'd like to say the sun is shining here, but unfortunately, it's a rather grey and blustery day, as Winnie the Pooh might say. And it doesn't really look like it's going to get light today. I think this is it for us today. But we're all alive and well and raring to go. So if you're listening, good morning, Jackie. Tell me where you are, I feel like Cilla Black. Where are you and where'd you come from? And let me know where you're listening, whether you're listening in. I can see that Jackie's listening in on Facebook. And if you're listening in on LinkedIn, I think what happens is with my super duper streaming software, I get a little icon to tell me where you are and where you're listening, which is the power of technology, isn't it? And even more is the power that actually enabled me to work the technology, which is always quite a surprise to lots of people, especially me. So this is the first of my the lovely Jackie, she's in Bexley. Is the sun shining for you, Jackie? It's not shining for us, I'm afraid. Only shines on the righteous, I'm told, so we're probably up the creek without a paddle. Anyway, so this morning I wanted to talk to you about publishing, and also this is an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you might have about writing or publishing. I've called it a writing surgery. I called it a writing surgery once on Clubhouse, I believe, and somebody actually joined and asked me if I was giving any advice on actual surgery, which I had to inform them that I absolutely wasn't. Unless it's applying a plaster. Yeah, it's a bit drab, isn't it, Jackie? But it's up there somewhere in the ether. It might pop out maybe a little bit this afternoon, but who knows? It's not raining, so never mind. So I wanted to talk to you this morning about publishing, and publishing is one of the biggest hurdles, really, once you get beyond writing your manuscript, putting your manuscript together, editing your manuscript, proofreading your manuscript, and re-editing your manuscript. I mean, there's a lot to be done. But the actual kind of challenge of getting your work published is quite a difficult one. And I know for me, it was the kind of challenge that was so severe at points I almost gave up. And let me tell you, I was on book 8 or 9 at that point because the publishing process had been such a minefield. And when I've in different writing groups that I'm in, the challenge is nonetheless difficult for anybody. I don't think. I think it's unless you happen to live with a publisher, then the publishing process can be a bit of a minefield. So what I wanted to talk to you today is a little bit about the publishing options that might be available to you once you have completed your manuscript. Hi, Helen. Good morning to you, my darling. Hope you're well. So there are lots of options available. Some of them are favourable, some of them are to be avoided, like the dreaded plague, I'm afraid, and some of them may be for you and some of them may not be for you. This is just my take on it according to my experience that's happened over the last 10 years and where I've ended up where I am because of those experiences. And hopefully by doing this I can help you to avoid some of the pitfalls that I encountered, which were emotionally and financially quite costly, I have to say. So there are several options open to you as a writer. The first one is self-publishing, which is achievable. You can upload your book to various different platforms, and you can get your book to go live on various different platforms such as Amazon, Ingram Sparks, and other platforms such as that. It doesn't cost a lot of money. But what I would say is it technically it can be quite a challenge. There are lots of hoops you have to jump through regarding the formatting of your book and getting it ready for sale on whichever your chosen platform is. The other thing as well, there are a few little hurdles with regard to ISBN numbers. if you self-publish direct to Amazon, for example, they will allocate you an ISBN number, and that's your little barcode that you get on the bottom of your book with a few sort of indiscriminate numbers. And the reason you would want an ISBN number on your book is so that people can find your book. It's like the code that you get on shopping when they beep through your wine and your chocolate. It goes beep in the machine, and that really is the special code that's given to your book, which allows people to find your book. I have been contacted by a writer recently who has gone ahead and self-published her book through a printing company. That's absolutely fine. You can do that, but she's got no ISBN number, which makes it very difficult to sell online. And much as we hate to admit it, lots of books are bought online, and that is the way that lots of people will buy and sell books these days. So really, you can do it without an online presence, but I would say you're putting quite a glass ceiling on the amount of sales you can get. That's for another day. Anyway, so self-publishing, you can upload it to a platform. It can then from there be put onto sales platforms such as Amazon. There are others, and you will be responsible for all the marketing and the sales of that book. There's more to come with that, and it's possible, but it's not always easy. Oh my goodness, I can't get my words out, especially if you've not done it before. And the formatting, if the formatting isn't done well, your book can look quite. Yes, Helen, I do talk about wine and chocolate quite a lot, don't I? They're good comparisons for me. But if your book isn't formatted well and it isn't put together well, it can look pretty poor and unprofessional. Now, you may get somebody phone you and say, "Oh, excellent, I've seen your book. Would you like to publish it?" This happened exactly to me. And you think, "Woohoo, I've been approached by a publisher. This is awesome." A lot of the time, these people are what we call vanity publishers. They're called vanity publishers because they will prey on the vulnerable, and they will sort of pander to your ego and your desperation to get your book published. Um, yes, Jackie's just saying, um, why don't you go to Penguin so they can publish? It's not that simple, is it? We'll talk about that in a moment. So Vanity Publish, if somebody contacts you out of the blue to publish your book, unless you have an enormous following, unless you are famous, unless you've got some kind of social profile that is huge, be very cautious. They are probably vanity publishers. And I got approached by a vanity publisher. I was so delighted that I said yes. It cost me thousands, literally thousands. If they are offering to publish your book for thousands of pounds or thousands of dollars, quite often, do not go anywhere near them. They are vanity publishers. They will charge you a lot more than the process is even slightly worth. And the reason for that is because they know that as an unknown author, as somebody without a following, as somebody who isn't famous, you're not likely to get lots of sales and you're not likely to get lots of royalties from your book, particularly in the early days. What they're trying to do is secure those royalties up front. And they will promise you all kinds of things. They will promise you that they'll market your book. They will promise you that they will get your book out there. They will tell you that your book is wonderful. They actually formatted my book, these particular vanity publishers, formatted my book. There were so many mistakes on it. They missed the expedited deadline that I had paid extra for, and I never got that money back. And my book was never published within the time frame that they had offered me. They missed those deadlines. They set the price of my book at something like £14 or $14, which for a small chick-lit novella was a completely unrealistic price. I had no control over the pricing. I had no control over the delivery. I had no control over anything apart from the fact that I was shelling out money to them left, right, and centre, and apart from the fact that every time they sent me back the formatting, it looked awful. I should have taken them to court. I should have sued them. I didn't have the money, the time, or the inclination, or someone to help me. And I left that process feeling really deflated. I also, shock horror, don't think they'd even read my book. So be very wary if somebody contacts you and offers to publish your book and you don't have a big following, they are likely to be vanity publishers. And publishing your book should not cost you thousands of pounds. It will cost you. I'm not telling you it's cheap, and I'm not telling you it will cost you nothing, but it should not cost you thousands of pounds. And I would Personally, this is just my advice and from my experiences, but I would avoid them like the plague. I would run in the opposite direction very quickly. You will not get what you think you're going to get. Okay. So then we move to traditional publishing. Now, in the words of Jackie, someone said, why don't you just go to Penguin? They'll publish your book. It ain't that simple. In fact, it's so far from that simple, it's scary. When you get a traditional publishing deal, you will need to submit your manuscript to publishers for them to approve it. You may even need to get an agent before you get a publisher, and getting an agent can be just as hard as getting a publisher. So both processes are difficult. You will have to research and find the right publisher for your genre. So it's no good just going to Penguin, because Penguin will have a very specific range of books that they publish. Okay. So if your book is a romance novel, you will have to trawl the internet probably for lots of different publishers that take romance submissions. If your book is horror, the same. If your book is children's, if your book is whatever genre it is, you will need to find the right publisher for your project. Okay. That publisher or agent, depending on which way you go down. You might try to go straight to the publisher, you might try to find an agent. Both are pretty similar processes and both are quite arduous and can be quite soul destroying. I think J.K. Rowling, bless her heart, got 60 rejections before she was finally published. So it is a path where you are likely to get knocked back more than pushed forward, and that in itself can be quite demotivating and can zap your creativity like nothing else. So you need to submit to your chosen publisher, and each publisher will have a specific submission process. And that will be completely different from publisher to publisher. So some publishers might want a synopsis. Some publishers might want the first 3 chapters edited. Some publishers might want the whole manuscript. Some publishers will want the submission written double spaced in a certain font of a certain size of a certain criteria. It's a really time consuming process. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying you can't do it, but be prepared for the journey. It is long and it is arduous. Now, I got traditionally published for 2 of my novellas. I think it was my second and third novellas. And I thought, whoop, whoop, this is amazing. Admittedly, it was by what we call an indie publisher, which is a small publishing house. Nothing wrong with that at all. And I thought, this is brilliant. I'm home dry. I've got a publisher. And if you get a traditionally publishing deal, they shouldn't charge you any money. If they do, think very carefully, because again, we'll probably go back to the fact that they are probably vanity publishers. So my publisher didn't charge me any money. He did me a great front cover. I had to get my own editing done, which is usually always the case anyway. And I had to get a couple of beta readers to check that my story flowed, etc., etc. But I really genuinely thought I was home dry. And the reason I thought I was home dry was because I thought he would do all of my marketing. He would promote my book. He would push my book. He would put my book on this and that platform. He would do all of those things. He didn't. And I'm here to tell you that most publishers, in fact, I would say, 90%, unless you get really lucky, most publishers will not do your marketing for you. And the reason for that is marketing is a long, hard slog. It's time consuming and it's costly. And unless you have a really good following, unless you've got a bit of fame behind you, as we went back to in our earlier point, unless you've got that profile, it is not worth the publisher going to all that trouble. Okay. What you need to do as an author when you write a book in any realm is you need to promote your profile as an author. If you then go to a publisher, a friend of mine who has got quite a really good publishing deal with a big publishing house, one of your big 5, your HarperCollins, your Harlequins, all of that. She said if you go to them with a big following, which she has got, and she's sold hundreds of thousands of her books, so she's been working on this a long time, you're knocking on an open door. If you go as nobody, as Mrs. Nobody, with no following and no kudos, you're going to find it quite disappointing when you find out that actually the marketing is still down to you. And that's still the case for those 2 books that I've got traditionally published. I am still responsible for the marketing. I'm still responsible for the promotion. But the difference is he still takes royalties. So every time I have a marketing breakthrough or I make a few sales, I'm giving a chunk of it straight to him. And to be fair, he's done nothing for that privilege. So I would say publishing deal is great, but be prepared. You're still going to have to do the donkey work yourself. They will not do it for you. It's not worth their while. Okay. And I sort of get it. I sort of get why that is. So then after that, I got to that point and I thought, good grief, there's a lot of snobbery in publishing as well. And sometimes, often actually, if you're self-published, bookshops will turn their nose up. And other kind of platforms other than Amazon will maybe turn their nose up. So really, if you're self-published and your book comes back and it's just been printed as by Amazon, it's all right and it's great and it's a great achievement. I'm not doing that down, but you may be met with a little bit of resistance when it comes to getting your book into bookshops or onto other platforms, because there is that little bit of a snobbery of like, well, you haven't been traditionally published. Nobody's believed in your book enough to take it on, I think, is sort of the vibe, as well as the sort of snobbery that's involved. So you might encounter problems if you're only self-published. Now, I got to literally book 8 or 9 and I thought, do you know what? I was at the point of giving up. I'd self-published, I'd been duped by Vanity Publishers, I'd been traditionally published twice, and I was still not getting a lot of love, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know who to ask. And every time I tried to ask, I either got a Vanity publisher who really pretty much had a very personal agenda, or I got someone who gave me misinformation, or I got someone who wanted to charge me a lot for that information, and often that bit misinformation. So I thought, good God, what am I going to do? Met this amazing, amazing woman who is now a very, very successful writer in her own right. Who's selling hundreds of thousands of her book, The Cornish Midwife. If you look up the series, she's amazing. And she had started writing a little bit like me, had started self-publishing, had started kind of doing her writing as well as her work, etc., etc. And she then started a hybrid publishing house. And what she did was she helped self-published authors to self-publish under her publishing house logo. So they had the kudos of a publishing house. They didn't have the great long submission process, although she did still vet the books, and I'll go on to that in a moment. She did still make sure that the quality of books that she published under that publishing house were good enough for her to have faith in. She didn't want to publish stuff that was not very good or unprofessional or poorly edited, etc., etc. And she basically gave me more help, support, and advice in 5 minutes than I'd got in 5 years. And my next book, which was Tarts with Darts, was published under the Fabian Press book publishing label. And she also helped me to get an ISBN number, which I bought separately, so that I could put my book on Amazon, but also on lots of other platforms, because the ISBN was unique. It wasn't an Amazon provided ISBN. That means I now can put my book on England Sparks, I can put it on Amazon, I can put it into bookshops. It's got a lovely publishing house logo on the back, and it just looks more professional and more of a finished product. Okay, so that was brilliant, and she gave me inspiration to carry on. She now has gone on to different things, and her career has taken her in a different path altogether, and she doesn't run her publishing house anymore. I started my Rite of Passage Growth Academy, started coaching writers from their initial idea through to publication, was loving it and absolutely so proud and inspired by the writers that I had in the group. Jackie's one of them, Beverly and Jane and Sandra and Fiona. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do the same. I'm going to set up my own publishing house. And one of my visions and aims for that was the fact that I wanted to be the person that I needed when I set out. I wanted to be the person who gave good advice. I wanted to be the person who worked with integrity. I wanted to be the person who didn't overcharge for my services, but I wanted to offer support to struggling, new and budding writers who literally had hit a bit of a brick wall and didn't know how to get to that next step. So what I did was I set up Mabel and Stanley Publishing, and I do exactly what I was helped to do with book number 9. I help authors to publish under Mabel and Stanley Publishing. You retain all the rights and royalties of your book, so I don't take any royalties from you once your book is published. Similarly, I'm not responsible for your marketing. I'm not responsible for your sales. However, I do put you on my Hall of Fame. I do put you on my website. I do add you in my social media when I'm doing social media campaigns. So you do get some marketing, and I'm able to offer you marketing support and advice if you like it. I also provide you with a new unique ISBN number so that you can go on multiple platforms and you can go into the bookshops. So pretty much my inspiration was the lovely Joe, and now I've come to that point where I offer hybrid publishing to new and budding authors. Now, this little chat is by no means obligatory for you to say, "Yep, I'd love you to come and use me. I'd love you to publish under Mabel and Stanley Publishing." But I'm just trying to give you the advice that I needed. Do not get duped by a vanity publisher. Yes, you can self-publish, but you need the technological expertise to make sure your book is well formatted and loaded onto the platforms properly. Otherwise, you just won't get a professional end product. Yes, you can get a traditional publishing deal, but be prepared for a lot of rejection and a long slog. Or you can choose the hybrid publishing method, which I think personally is the best of both worlds. You get the kudos of a publishing house along with the support from that publishing house, with the technological support and the kind of formatting and the help to get your book out there. And you also become part of a really supportive community that are always there to sort of inspire, motivate, and support you with your endeavours, which is what I had, and I promise you it was invaluable. So that is really just my advice for today, all about publishing and how you might go about it if you decide to go down that route. Now, what I will do is I will put in the comments, I will put my website in there. And if you do want any more advice, or you're at the point with your manuscript that you think I would like to be considered for publishing, or I don't know how to go about it, or I'd like a bit more advice, then please do get in touch. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for that. Please do get in touch, and I will help you every which way that I can. And I will give you any advice that you need in pursuing your writing dream. So if you get stuck and you want some advice, just please do get in touch. There's plenty of contact forms on my website, or you can send me a message on Facebook, LinkedIn, or I'm on Twitter at Karen Stanley, at K Stanley Writes, and I'm Karen Stanley Author on all the other platforms: Instagram, LinkedIn. I think I'm author at Karen Stanley, and Facebook I'm Karen Stanley Author. Thank you, Jackie. I'm glad it was helpful for people just starting out, and I hope it motivates you and inspires you to kind of complete the process and really, see that process through, because it's worth doing. And I think Jackie and all of my authors will say that actually getting your book published, it's scary. It's really scary. You really are laying your heart on the line. But once your book's out there, published and able to be held between your sweaty palms, as it were, it really is worth the effort. And if you're writing for a business, then even better, because it can really elevate your business. It can make you a credible expert in your field. It can bring you new clients. It can generate more business. It can serve as a passive income. It can serve as a way to make buoyant your social media. There's so many benefits to writing a business book. You're welcome, Helen. Thank you for joining. There's so many benefits to writing a business book, and I've got a coaching program that starts on the 14th of February, I believe, on Monday, which is an intensive 90-day get your business book written, published, finished, and out there. So if you're up for a challenge and you want to get your book not only started but actually done and out there, then ping me a message, and I'd love to help you, because I think it's one of those things that if you don't commit to the process, it's very easy for it to get back on put on the back burner and get left in the dusty recesses of our minds when life takes over. So I hope you've enjoyed that today. I hope it's been valuable. I hope it's been helpful, and I hope it's been giving you a little bit of an insight into the I always think of Penelope Pitstop when I say pitfalls, the pitfalls of publishing, because trust me, there are many. So if you've got a manuscript that you'd like to be considered for publication, or if you're starting out with your book writing journey and you'd like some support with that, or if you'd like to know a way forward, I'm always happy to have a discovery call and help you to find your path, really, because the path for every writer will be different, because we're all different, aren't we? And that's a good thing. Be a grey old world if we're all the same. So have a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm hoping to schedule another of these writing surgeries next month. If they prove really popular and if people are enjoying them and getting value from them, then I will try to schedule them fortnightly, but we'll see how we go. So put a message in the comments and tell me, if you would be interested in attending these and whether 12 o'clock is a good time for you. Yes, Jackie, I did wonder who Kate was. But I do think the T and the R are pretty close together on the keyboard. So sometimes when I go to type Karen, I often type Katen. So you can be forgiven. Perhaps a little senior moment, senior blonde moment for a Wednesday morning. But big love to you all. Thank you all for joining me. And I will be in true author style. I haven't forgotten why I do this. My next book is due to be released on Friday. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And I'm writing 5 in the series, in the Dog and Duck series this year: spring, summer, autumn, and winter, culminating in a big old Christmas special. So the book is available for download, and I'd love it. It's 99p for the weekend from Friday to Sunday, from the 28th to the 30th. I'll post the links all over LinkedIn like a mad person, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if anyone would like to support me in spending 99p of their hard-earned cash to elevate my book to bestseller status, yay! That would be absolutely awesome. Thank you, Jackie. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. I just gave it another quick proofread this morning at the death, as it were. So I'm hoping it's mistake free, but proofreading is a tricky business. Perhaps our next writing surgery could be about editing and proofreading, because again, that's another minefield. I wish you all well. Have a wonderful Wednesday. I hope today brings you all of your dreams that you've chucked out to the universe. I hope they come back to you with abundance. So love and luck to everyone. God bless, and see you all again soon. Thanks for joining. Take care now.